When is a goodbye more powerful than a declaration of love? In some films, it's not the kiss that breaks you, it's the goodbye. Not the confession, but the sacrifice. The silence before the door closes. The decision to walk away, not because you don't love them, but because you do. Today, we're diving into 5 of the most devastating cinematic farewells, the kind that don't just break hearts, they grow them. And before we start, which goodbye has stayed with you the longest? Drop it in the comments. One still stands above the rest. Fog, a runway. A man letting go of the only woman he's ever loved. What makes Rick's farewell in Casablanca more powerful than any love confession in film history? Rick Blaine starts as a man who claims he sticks his neck out for nobody. But that's not toughness, it's heartbreak in a trench coat. He hides behind sarcasm, cigarettes, and shadows until Ilsa walks back in. Suddenly, the armor cracks. He drinks, mocks her, even threatens to ruin her husband. Not because he's heartless, but because he's still hurting. He could use the letters of transit to steal her back, rewrite their story, force a second chance. And for most of the film, we think he might. But then, the fog. At that runway, Rick chooses not love, but duty. Not what he wants, but what the world needs. Letting her go means saving Laszlo. Saving Laszlo means saving the resistance. It's not just romantic sacrifice, it's moral clarity. And it lands because the film never shouts. Bogart doesn't weep. Bergman doesn't beg. They look, they pause, they breathe. And we feel everything they don't say. The music, too, whispers. As time goes by, plays faintly, like memory. No swells, no cheap strings, just silence and engines in the dark. For 1940s audiences, this wasn't fiction. It was wartime reality. Rick's goodbye mirrored the real-world goodbyes playing out across the globe. Because sometimes, love isn't holding on. It's letting go for something greater. That's why this farewell lingers longer than any I love you. In Waterloo Bridge, farewell isn't a decision. It's an accident, one delivered by war. Myra and Roy fall in love during air raids, snatching tenderness from chaos. But when Roy is reported dead, Myra breaks. Grief, poverty, and shame drive her to survive in the only way she sees left. But Roy isn't dead. He returns, wounded but alive, ready to build a future. Only now, Myra no longer believes she deserves it. Their reunion is drenched in silence. He sees the woman he once loved. She sees someone broken. And in that moment, she makes a choice. Not for herself, but for the memory of what they had. She smiles. She lies. Then walks away, back to the bridge where they first kissed, vanishing into the same fog that began their story. This isn't a noble sacrifice like Rick's. It's not duty. It's devastation. Myra doesn't leave because she wants to. She leaves because she believes love demands it. That's what makes it hurt. Waterloo Bridge shows how war doesn't just take lives, it takes the possibility of love, twisting it into shame, miscommunication, and silence. And sometimes, the greatest tragedy is not that love ends, but that it never had the chance to begin. In Dark Victory, Bette Davis plays Judith Traherne, a woman not saying goodbye to a lover, but to life itself. Diagnosed with a brain tumor, Judith makes a quiet, devastating choice. When the end nears, she tells her husband she feels fine and sends him away. She doesn't want him to see her fade. This lie, born from love, becomes her final gift. What follows is one of the most understated goodbyes in film history. Judith climbs the stairs to her bedroom, knowing she'll never come down again. No tears, no speeches, just sunlight through the window and silence. Her death isn't a spectacle, it's a surrender done with grace, and that's what makes it unforgettable. Davis delivers every emotion with restraint, a pause at the railing, a breath before the final step. Even the score stays hushed. Max Steiner's music whispers instead of weeping. As her vision fades, the light dims gently, a visual metaphor for letting go without fear. Judith doesn't ask for sympathy. She chooses solitude not as escape, but as protection. Her final act isn't about dying bravely. It's about loving others enough to let them go first. Dark Victory reframes death as an act of love. And sometimes, the most powerful goodbye is the one no one sees, a farewell faced alone, In The Grapes of Wrath, farewell isn't a single scene. It's a slow, grinding goodbye to everything familiar: home, land, comfort, piece by piece. The Jodes aren't fleeing heartbreak, they're surviving it. Ma Jode stands at the center of this storm. She doesn't cry or collapse. She cooks, she calms, she carries on. While the world strips everything away, she holds the family together with quiet strength and steady hands. No big speeches, no tearful breakdowns. Just the weight of survival pressed into every glance, every gesture. Jane Darwell's performance makes resilience feel sacred. Her silence says more than a monologue ever could. And when Tom Joad finally says goodbye, he doesn't make it personal. He turns it into a promise. I'll be there wherever people are fighting. It's not just a farewell to his mother. It's a vow to the human spirit. Director John Ford reframes grief as resistance. Where Steinbeck's novel ends in despair, the film ends with Ma still standing, still pushing forward. This isn't heartbreak as collapse. It's heartbreak as endurance. 1,000 tiny losses endured without breaking. Because some goodbyes don't come with closure. They come with the strength to keep moving. Not for yourself, but for everyone following behind you. Charlotte Vale begins trapped, controlled by her domineering mother, defined by insecurity. But through therapy, travel, and heartbreak, she transforms, not into someone louder, but someone stronger. Her love for Jerry is quiet and complicated. He's married. He has a daughter. And though they fall for each other, Charlotte doesn't fight for more. She doesn't demand. She doesn't beg. Instead, she chooses restraint, not out of fear, but maturity. She knows stepping into Jerry's life would cost Tina stability. So instead of asking for everything, she gives something smaller and more lasting.
Jerry, don't let's ask for the moon. We have the stars.
That one line reframes the entire goodbye. The stars are what they can keep. A shared connection that's distant, permanently and free of destruction. Charlotte's farewell isn't a collapse, it's clarity. It's the result of work, internal, quiet, real. Her transformation is not cosmetic, it's emotional. By the end, she doesn't cling to Jerry, she holds herself. And that's what makes her goodbye one of the most elegant in film history. Not grand, not tragic, just whole. Because sometimes, love isn't about getting more, it's about choosing less so others can have peace. Across these 5 films, farewells reveal transformation. In Casablanca, love becomes sacrifice. In Waterloo Bridge, protection becomes tragedy. In Dark Victory, acceptance becomes grace. In The Grapes of Wrath, grief becomes solidarity. In Now Voyager, longing becomes dignity. Each moment works because it resists spectacle and finds strength in restraint, showing how quiet choices can speak more powerfully than grand gestures. These scenes remind us that in classic cinema, the most powerful goodbyes don't just end stories. They teach us how different forms of love can emerge from loss. Which of these farewells moved you most, and why? Share your thoughts in the comments and subscribe for more close readings of Golden Age cinema.